After finding out I was the fake heiress, I stopped following my brother around everywhere. I stopped clinging to him, stopped policing his friends. At first, my brother loved it.
Not bad, sis.
Why are you so well behaved lately? Until 3 months later, when the real heiress returned home. I didn't cry or scream. I calmly suggested returning to my biological parents' home. My brother's face turned pale instantly. That night, his buddy tried to comfort him. Since you can't bear to let your sister go, just marry her. My brother roared. I'm not an animal. His buddy asked again. Then are you willing to spend your life with her? Care for her, tolerate her through poverty and wealth, sickness and health, until death do you part? The next second, my brother said without hesitation, that's what I plan to do anyway.
Me?
Since I was little, I loved clinging to my brother, especially after I was kidnapped as a child. And my brother risked his life to save me. My dependence on him peaked. If I didn't see him for more than 5 hours, I'd throw a tantrum. Even as adults, Vance rarely went on business trips. Until a few days ago, an emergency arose at an overseas branch. My brother had no choice but to leave first and tell me later. 5 days later, he finally returned. Right now, Lucas was locked out of my room, coaxing helplessly. I shouldn't have hidden the trip from you, but it was urgent. I bought your favorite bag. Open the door for your big brother, okay? I sat on the sofa, covering my ears, ignoring him. Lucas knocked for a while. Realizing I wasn't going to open up, he said gloomily, fine, don't open it. Then he seemed to make a call. A minute later, the sound of lock-picking came from outside. I shot up from the sofa and yelled at the door. If you pick the lock, I won't talk to you for 3 days. The noise stopped instantly. Lucas hissed, we were only apart for 5 days. Is it that serious? Hearing this made me even angrier. I grabbed a throw pillow and threw it at the door with a muffled thud. Just as I was about to say something harsh, a row of bullet comments suddenly floated before my eyes. LMAO, the supporting female character, still doesn't know she's the fake heiress. Keep throwing tantrums, girl. Wait until the real heiress returns and your brother loses patience. You'll learn to behave. Then I froze, staring blankly at the text. Me fake heiress? Impossible. But the comments continued. If she took a DNA test now, she wouldn't look like such a clown. Thinking she has her parents' backing, who knew she wasn't even their biological child. Outside, Lucas sent the locksmith away and knocked again. Voice lazy, you can't be this clingy forever. You should give me some space. Besides, I handled everything as fast as possible. Is it worth getting this angry? As soon as he finished, I opened the door. Expressionless. Lucas raised an eyebrow in surprise, leaning down slightly. Yo forgave me so fast this time. He handed me the cake bag and necklace. Thinking about the bullet comments, I took them distractedly. Then I focused on his hair. Seeing my bare feet, Lucas frowned and picked me up. I was startled and instinctively cursed. Lucas Vance, are you crazy? My brother didn't let go, asking back.
You were staring at me.
Isn't that asking to be held?
Me?
Question mark. Still angry, I tried to struggle free, but saw his hair right in front of me. After hesitating, I leaned in and yanked a strand. Lucas patted my back warningly. Your new revenge is pulling my hair? I didn't speak, staring at the bullet comments. I clutched the strand of hair tight. If I really am a fake heiress, then I'm truly screwed, because I've been terrorizing my brother for years. The thing he said most to me was, Luna Vance, if you weren't my biological sister, who could stand your rotten temper? When I was little, my parents were busy with work and rarely took care of me, so they guiltily satisfied all my demands, even my excessive dependence and possessiveness towards Lucas. I just told Lucas, let your sister have her way. So since I can remember, Lucas had a little tail. I followed him everywhere until I was stopped by a bar bouncer. No minors allowed. I clutched my brother's shirt tight, shaking my head. No, I want to be with my brother. Lucas was only 18 then, the age for fun. He impatiently shook off my hand and called the butler to take me home. At 11 p.m., he finished partying and checked his phone. Seeing countless missed calls from the butler, he realized I was lost. My brother called a bunch of people and searched for me frantically. Finally, he found me, curled up asleep in an inconspicuous bush near the bar entrance. He asked me with a dark face why I ran off. Waking up, I rubbed against his cheek dazedly and said, wanted to see Big Brother sooner. From then on, Lucas rarely went to bars. Relying on my parents' favor, I started bossing him around. While serving me, Lucas would grit his teeth and threaten Luna Vance. If you weren't my sister, I'd throw you out immediately. I didn't care then and continued to order him around. But now, holding the DNA test report, I realized I'm really not his biological sister.
Done.
It's all over. I returned home trembling, My parents were often away on business, so usually it was just Lucas and me. When I got back, Lucas wasn't home. After dinner, the butler saved a late-night snack for Lucas. But by 10 p.m., the food was cold, and he still hadn't returned. Seeing the butler waiting, I called. Lucas picked up quickly. Before I spoke, I heard voices on the other end.
Luke?
Who's calling, picking up so fast? Must be his sister rushing him home.
Sigh.
I wish I had a sister like that, Lucas said helplessly.
Can't help it.
She's clingy. He put the phone to his ear and chuckled. It's only 10. Rushing me home again? I heard his friend sighing in the background. Afraid Lucas was getting impatient, I quickly said, no. You can stay out as long as you want. Lucas's breath hitched. What do you mean? I looked at the cold snack and asked carefully. If you're not coming back, I'll tell the butler to dispose of the food and get off work. Lucas fell silent. After a long while, he realized, using the butler as an excuse this time. Fine, I'm coming back. He hung up. Normally, if Lucas dared to stay out this late, I would have locked the main door and gone to sleep. But now I didn't dare. I wanted to ease our relationship. So I waited on the sofa, planning to heat up his food myself. But I fell asleep waiting. I don't know how long passed, but I felt someone pick me up gently. I instinctively wrapped my arms around his neck and opened my eyes. I saw my brother's angry eyes. Luna, Vance. To force me home. You don't even care about your health. It's 11 p.m. Why are you staying up instead of sleeping? I didn't understand why he was mad. I hadn't thrown a tantrum or locked him out, but remembering the food, I struggled to get down. Lucas held me tighter. Okay, stop being mad. I promise to be home by 9:30 from now on. Happy? I explained seriously. It's okay if you come back later. Lucas frowned, talking nonsense again.
Me?
In the end, he didn't eat. Instead, he helped me wash up and tucked me in. After doing all this, he stood by my bed, waiting. Seeing I didn't move, he leaned in close. Startled, I pushed his chest. What are you doing, Lucas? Dad? Grabbing my wrist. Didn't you say, goodnight kiss before sleep? I clarified quickly. No need anymore. Never again. Lucas's face darkened. Is this your way of punishing me? Childish. He scoffed and stood up coldly.
Fine.
You think I care? Over the next few days, I proved with my actions that I really wasn't angry. I stopped clinging to him, policing his friends, even serve him food at the table. Lucas raised an eyebrow. Enjoying it? Not bad, sis. Why so well behaved lately? I stated my attitude immediately. Sorry, brother. I controlled you too much before. I won't do it again. Lucas froze for a second, then laughed. Should have been like this long ago. No sister clings to her brother forever. So for the next few days, my brother started going to bars with his friends again. But he consciously came home by 9:30. Until one day, he came home right at 9:30 and found I wasn't home. He called me immediately. I was at a club gathering at school and couldn't answer. So I hung up and texted. At a gathering? Might be late. Don't wait for me, he replied a minute later. So surprisingly open-minded. It's fine. You have freedom. We should give each other space. You are an independent individual. Of course, I won't restrict you. Have fun, sis.
Put down my phone, relieved.
The gathering ended at 11:30 p.m. I drank a little so I couldn't drive. It was too late to call the family driver. Hesitating, a senior club member offered kindly. Luna, I'm driving. I can drop you off. Afraid I'd be uncomfortable, he added. Another senior is in the car, too. I'll drop you first. I was a bit tipsy and nodded mechanically. Seeing my state, he politely supported my arm. If you're dizzy, lean on me. I was indeed unsteady. So I leaned on his shoulder as he led me to the car. Outside, the wind sobered me up a bit. The senior still held my arm. I felt something staring at me. Looking around suspiciously. I saw nothing. Just as I was about to get in, the senior said, Huh? Luna, who is that guy? Why is he staring at you? I blinked through the haze of alcohol, following the senior's uneasy gaze. Under the dim, flickering glow of the street lamp, a familiar figure stood leaning against a sleek black Maybach. He was half hidden in the shadows, but I didn't need the light to recognize him. The broad shoulders, the tailored suit that fit him like a second skin, and the terrifyingly cold aura radiating from him. It was Lucas. He was smoking, something he rarely did unless he was incredibly stressed or unimaginably pissed off. The cherry of a cigarette glowed an angry red before he dropped it, crushing it out beneath his polished leather shoe with a slow, deliberate twist of his heel. Luna. Lucas's voice sliced through the cool night air. It wasn't loud, but it carried a deadly weight. My heart did a traitorous flip. I quickly took a step back, slipping my arm out of the senior's grasp. Brother? What are you doing here? Didn't you text me that you wouldn't wait up? Lucas pushed off the car and closed the distance between us in a few long strides. He completely ignored my question, his dark, heavy gaze locking onto the senior. The poor guy visibly swallowed, taking an involuntary step back under the sheer oppressive weight of Lucas's stare. "Who is he?" Lucas asked, his tone dangerously soft. I'm a senior from her club," the guy stammered, trying to muster a polite smile. "Luna had a bit to drink, so I was just offering her a ride home." "Is that right?" Lucas's lips curled into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Without a word of warning, he reached out, gripping my wrist and pulling me seamlessly behind him, shielding me from the senior's view. "Thanks, but my sister doesn't need a ride from strangers." The family driver was busy. "I came to get her myself." Before the senior could say another word, Lucas turned and dragged me toward the Maybach. He opened the passenger door, practically shoving me inside, and slammed it shut with a resounding thud. The drive home was suffocating. Lucas gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles were stark white. The silence in the car was thick enough to cut with a knife. Usually this was the part where I would whine, complain that he was hurting my wrist, or demand to know why he was acting like a tyrant. But I wasn't his biological sister. I was an imposter who had terrorized this man for over a decade. The realization was still a heavy, cold rock in my stomach. I leaned my head against the window, watching the city lights blur by. "You didn't have to come. You said we should give each other space." The tire screeched slightly as Lucas took a corner a bit too fast. "Space," he repeated, the word tasting like venom in his mouth. "I give you a few hours of space, and you're immediately letting some random guy touch you?" He was just helping me walk. I was dizzy. "You have a phone. You could have called me." "You were out with your friends," I replied calmly. "I'm an independent individual, right? You said you wouldn't restrict me." The car jerked as Lucas slammed on the brakes at a red light. He turned to me, his chest heaving, his eyes burning with a dark, chaotic storm. He opened his mouth to yell, to issue one of his classic threats, "Luna Vance, if you weren't my sister," but the words died in his throat. He stared at my calm, indifferent expression, and something in his face cracked. A line of glowing text floated into my vision, right between us. "LMAO, the fake heiress is trying to play hard to get. Doesn't she know her brother is disgusted by her? Watch him leave her on the side of the road. She's pushing her luck." I stared at the text, then looked back at Lucas. Disgusted? Was that what this was? The light turned green. Lucas faced forward, his jaw clenched so hard a muscle feathered in his cheek. "Next time you drink, call me. I don't care what time it is. If I catch another guy's hands on you, I'm breaking them." He didn't speak for the rest of the ride. For the next 3 months, our dynamic shifted into something entirely unrecognizable. I began my silent withdrawal. I stopped waiting on the sofa for him to come home. I stopped questioning his schedule. I moved my favorite snacks out of his study, took my plushies out of his car, and even asked the maids to stop placing our laundry together. I was meticulously untangling my life from his, preparing for the day the real heiress would return and the bullet comments would be proven right. At first, Lucas tried to play it cool. He pretended he loved the freedom. But by the 3rd week, the cracks were showing. It started with small, ridiculous things. He would knock on my door at midnight. "Luna, where's my gray silk tie?" "In your closet, Lucas." "I can't find it." "Come find it for me," asked the maid. "Luna." When I refused to open the door, he stood outside in the hallway for an hour, pacing like a caged animal. By the 2nd month, the bullet comments, which I had learned were coming from some omniscient observers of this novel world, began to change their tune. "Wait, why is the brother acting like a kicked puppy? I thought he hated her clinginess? Why is he canceling his overseas trip just because she sneezed?" Plot hole? The fake heiress isn't throwing tantrums anymore. She's practically a saint. It's making me nervous. I ignored them. I was too busy using the clues from the bullet comments to run my own private investigation. It took some digging and a discreet private investigator, but I found them. My biological parents. They weren't wealthy. They ran a modest, slightly rundown bakery in a neighboring city 2 hours away. They had spent years putting up missing person flyers for their stolen daughter. Looking at the photo of their weathered, kind faces, I cried in my room for the first time since this whole ordeal began. I secretly packed away my most essential belongings. I transferred the money I had earned from my own part-time modeling and university internships into a new, separate bank account. The limitless black card Lucas had given me on my 18th birthday sat untouched in my drawer. Then, the fateful day arrived. The day my world was supposed to end. It was a rainy Tuesday afternoon when Mr. and Mrs. Vance called an urgent family meeting. They had rushed back from Europe, their faces a mix of profound guilt, sorrow, and nervous anticipation. I sat on the velvet sofa, my hands folded neatly in my lap. Lucas sat beside me. Out of habit, he reached over and casually hooked his pinky finger around mine. For once, I didn't pull away. Let him have this one last sibling gesture. The heavy oak doors to the living room opened. The butler led a girl inside. She was thin, wearing clothes that were clean but faded, and she had a timid, defensive look in her eyes. But her face, she had Mrs. Vance's delicate nose and Mr. Vance's striking amber eyes. She was Chloe, the real heiress.
Here she is.
The true queen has arrived. Finally, now we get to see the fake heiress cry and beg to stay. Get the popcorn ready, the slap to the face is going to be epic. Mrs. Vance burst into tears, rushing forward to embrace Chloe. Mr. Vance's eyes were red. They spent the next hour explaining the tragic hospital mix-up, the decades of separation, and the recent DNA match. Throughout the entire tearful reunion, Lucas sat frozen. His pinky had dropped from mine. He stared at Chloe, then slowly, terrifyingly, turned his head to look at me. His eyes were wide, desperate, frantically searching my face for a reaction. Chloe, wiping her tears, finally looked at me. Her gaze was hardened, ready for a fight. She had obviously read enough novels or watched enough dramas to know that the fake daughter would now throw a hysterical fit, claim she was the only true daughter, and try to drive a wedge between Chloe and the family. I took a deep breath, stood up, and smoothed my skirt. I looked at Mr. and Mrs. Vance, bowing deeply. Thank you for everything you've given me these past 20 years. You raised me, loved me, and protected me. I can never repay that debt. The room went dead silent. The bullet comments froze. I turned to Chloe and offered a gentle, genuine smile. Welcome home, Chloe. This is where you belong. Chloe blinked, completely derailed. You're not mad? Why would I be mad that a family is finally reunited? I said softly. I looked back at the Vance parents. I've already packed my things. I have the address of my biological parents. I think it's best if I move out today to give Chloe the space she needs to adjust, and so I can go meet the people who have been looking for me. Mrs. Vance covered her mouth, sobbing. Oh, Luna, you don't have to leave. We can keep you both. We have enough room, enough love. No, a voice interrupted. It was a low, jagged sound, like a piece of metal snapping. Lucas stood up. His face was entirely devoid of color, as pale as a corpse. His amber eyes, usually so sharp and confident, were trembling. What are you talking about? He whispered, walking toward me. Move out? Biological parents? What is this nonsense, Luna? You heard them, Lucas. I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I'm not your sister. Shut up, he roared, the sudden volume making everyone in the room flinch. He grabbed my shoulders, his grip bruising. You are a Vance. You are my sister. You're not going anywhere. Lucas, let her go, mister.
Vance said gently.
This is a shock, but Luna is right. Her real parents deserve to know her. She needs time. Time. Lucas laughed, a fractured, hysterical sound. She's been planning this. Haven't you, Luna? The distance. The coldness. The money you stopped spending. You knew. How long have you known? His eyes were burning with a terrifying mix of betrayal and sheer panic. Long enough to know that I don't belong here anymore. I whispered, reaching up to gently pry his fingers off my shoulders. Goodbye, Lucas. Take care of your real sister. Before he could react, I turned and walked out of the living room. I grabbed my single suitcase by the door and walked out into the rain. What the FCK just happened? Asterisk. Where is the screaming? Where is the scheming? Why am I crying? The brother looks like someone just ripped his heart out. That night, the Vance mansion was in chaos, but I wasn't there to see it. According to the bullet comments that occasionally flashed across my vision, like a live stream I couldn't turn off, Lucas had absolutely lost his mind. He had tried to follow me, but Mr. Vance had ordered the guards to stop him, telling him he needed to calm down and respect my boundaries. Lucas had stormed out and gone straight to a private bar with his closest friends. The scene played out exactly as the mysterious text had predicted months ago. Lucas was slumped on a leather sofa, surrounded by empty whiskey bottles. His buddy, Ethan, was looking at him with a mixture of pity and exasperation. Luke, man, you gotta pull it together, Ethan sighed. Chloe is your blood. Luna. Well, it turns out she's just a girl who lived in your house. It's a shock, but you have to let her go back to her real family. Lucas threw his glass at the wall. It shattered into 100 pieces. I can't let her go. Lucas snarled, his eyes red-rimmed and bloodshot. You don't understand. She's mine. She's my responsibility. She can't sleep without a nightlight. She gets lost if she takes the subway. She has a terrible temper. Who else is going to put up with her? Ethan rubbed the bridge of his nose. Since you can't bear to let your sister go, just marry her. Lucas roared, surging forward and grabbing Ethan by the collar. I'm not an animal. She's my sister. She's not your sister. Ethan yelled back, shoving Lucas off. You share zero DNA, Lucas. Look at yourself. Are you grieving a sibling right now, or are you grieving the woman you're obsessed with? Lucas froze. He stared at Ethan, his chest heaving. Ethan asked again, his voice dropping to a serious, heavy register. I'm asking you, as your best friend, are you willing to spend your life with her? Care for her, tolerate her rotten temper through poverty and wealth, sickness and health, until death do you part. The silence in the bar was deafening. The next second, Lucas stood up, grabbing his coat. His eyes, previously clouded with drunken despair, were suddenly sharp, clear, and burning with a terrifying resolve. That's what I plan to do anyway, Lucas said without hesitation. He walked out of the bar, leaving a stunned Ethan behind. Holy shit. The sister con was actually a Yandere male lead all along. I take back everything I said. The fake heiress isn't the villainess. She's the female lead. Go get your wife, Lucas. Life at the bakery in the neighboring town was peaceful. My biological parents, the Millers, were incredibly warm. When I showed up at their door with my suitcase and the DNA results, my mother fainted, and my father cried until his voice went hoarse. They spent the next 2 weeks treating me like a fragile piece of glass, cooking my favorite meals, and apologizing endlessly for losing me at that crowded carnival 20 years ago. I adjusted quickly. I tied my hair up, wore simple jeans and t-shirts, and helped them run the front counter. I learned how to knead dough, how to operate the old espresso machine, and how to smile at the local regulars.
It was a simple, quiet life.
No banquets. No backstabbing socialites. No overwhelming, suffocating presence of a domineering brother. I missed him so much it felt like I couldn't breathe. I would catch myself looking at the door at 9:30 p.m., expecting a tall, scowling man in a bespoke suit to walk in and complain about me being up too late. I would reach for my phone to order him around, only to remember I didn't have the right to do that anymore. It was exactly 2 weeks and 3 days after I left the Vance household. It was a quiet Thursday afternoon. I was wiping down the display glass when I heard the chime of the bakery door. Welcome. What can I get for? The words died in my throat. The small, cozy bakery suddenly felt incredibly cramped. 3 intimidating men in black suits were standing near the entrance, looking utterly out of place among the pastel pink walls and flour sacks. And standing in front of the counter, staring at me with a gaze so intense it felt physical, was Lucas. He looked terrible, yet devastatingly handsome. He had lost weight. His cheekbones were sharper, his hair was slightly disheveled, and there were dark shadows under his amber eyes. But the moment his eyes locked onto mine, a spark of violent relief washed over his features. Found you, he whispered. I gripped the cleaning rag tightly. Lucas, what are you doing here? I came to buy bread, he lied smoothly, his eyes dropping to my flour-dusted apron. He frowned, an instinctual flash of displeasure crossing his face. Why are your hands dirty? Where are the employees? I am the employee, I said dryly. And this is my family's bakery. If you're not buying anything, please leave. Lucas didn't leave. Instead, he pulled out a sleek black leather wallet, extracted a limitless black card, the same one I had left in my drawer, and slapped it on the counter. I'll buy the bakery. I stared at him. Are you insane? Yes, he answered instantly. I'm losing my mind, Luna. It's been 17 days. You didn't answer my calls. You changed your number. You left all your clothes, your jewelry, the card I gave you. You completely erased yourself from my life. He stepped closer, leaning over the glass display. His voice dropped to a husky, desperate pitch. Did you really think I would just let you go? We have nothing to do with each other anymore, I argued, my heart pounding violently against my ribs. Chloe is your sister. Your responsibility is to her.
I have my own life now.
To hell with Chloe, Lucas growled, a dark possessiveness bleeding into his tone. She has my parents. She has the Vance wealth. I don't give a damn about her. My responsibility has always been you. Before I could process his words, the back door of the kitchen swung open. My biological father, Mr. Miller, walked out holding a tray of fresh croissants. He blinked at the imposing men in his shop. Luna, sweetheart, are these friends of yours? Lucas instantly straightened up. The terrifying, domineering aura vanished, replaced by the polite, impeccable manners of a high society heir. He bowed deeply to my bewildered father. Hello, Mr. Miller. I am Lucas Vance. I am here to apply for the assistant baker position. I nearly dropped my rag. What? Mr. Miller looked at Lucas's Rolex, which cost more than our entire building, and then at his handmade Italian suit. Son, I don't think we can afford you. I work for free, Lucas said without missing a beat. Actually, I will pay you to let me work here. I'm very good at following orders. Luna can vouch for me. She's been bossing me around for 15 years. LMAO, he is shameless. Bro literally threw away his CEO dignity to bake croissants. I'm screaming, get him an apron right now. Despite my furious protests, my father, intimidated and entirely confused, agreed. Thus began the most absurd week of my life. Lucas Vance, the ruthless heir to the Vance empire, moved into the cheap motel across the street from the bakery. Every morning at 5 a.m., he showed up at the back door. He took off his suit jacket, rolled up his expensive dress shirt sleeves, and tied a floral apron around his waist. He was terrible at baking. He burned 3 batches of cookies, broke a dozen eggs on the floor, and nearly blew up the espresso machine. But he was spectacular at dealing with customers. Specifically, male customers. If any guy my age tried to strike up a conversation with me or asked for my number, Lucas would suddenly materialize behind me like a grim reaper, holding a terrifyingly large bread knife, smiling a smile that promised murder. The guys would buy their baguettes and run for their lives. Lucas, you're ruining our business. I hissed one afternoon, dragging him into the back alley behind the shop. I'm protecting our business, he corrected smoothly, wiping flour off his cheek. It's not our business. And you need to go home. Don't you have a multi-billion-dollar corporation to run? An emergency at an overseas branch. Lucas stepped closer, backing me up against the brick wall of the alley. The playful banter died, replaced by that heavy, suffocating intensity that always left me breathless. The corporation can burn for all I care, he said softly, lifting a hand. He gently tucked a stray strand of hair behind my ear, his thumb lingering on my jawline. I told you, Luna. If I don't see you for more than a few hours, I lose it. You used to be the same way. What happened to my little tail? The one who cried outside the bar because she wanted to see her big brother? I swallowed hard, trying to ignore the heat radiating from his body. That was when I thought you were my brother. It was childhood trauma. It wasn't appropriate. I never cared if it was appropriate, Lucas whispered, leaning in until our foreheads almost touched. Do you think I let you control me out of guilt? Do you think I chased away every guy who looked at you because of brotherly duty? My breath hitched. Lucas. I hated the title of brother, he confessed, his voice a raw, agonizing rasp. Every time you called me that, it was a reminder that I could never truly have you. When I found out you weren't my blood. He let out a shaky breath, his amber eyes piercing straight through my soul. I wasn't sad, Luna. I was thrilled. I felt like a monster, seeing my parents cry, knowing my real sister had suffered. Because all I could think was, thank God. Now I can finally make her mine. The bullet comments exploded into a firework display of golden text, completely blocking out my peripheral vision. Confession acquired. He said it. He said the thing. Girl, if you don't kiss him right now, I will ice guy myself in there and do it for you. I stared at him, my heart hammering so loud I was sure he could hear it. You're crazy. I've tormented you for years. I was spoiled, clingy, unreasonable. You are everything, he interrupted fiercely, framing my face with both his large, warm hands. You are arrogant, demanding, and impossible. And I am utterly, hopelessly in love with you. I don't want space. I want you entirely, suffocatingly close to me for the rest of my life. He didn't give me a chance to argue. He didn't give me a chance to think. Lucas lowered his head and kissed me. It wasn't a gentle, hesitant kiss. It was desperate, claiming, and deeply possessive, carrying all the pent-up frustration and hidden desires of the past 15 years. His arms wrapped around my waist, lifting me slightly off the ground, pressing me flush against his chest. For a second, my mind went blank. Then, entirely of their own accord, my arms wrapped around his neck, and I kissed him back. He let out a low groan against my lips, holding me so tightly it felt like he was trying to fuse our souls together. All the fear, the uncertainty, the anxiety of being the fake heiress melted away under the heat of his touch. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathless. I rested my forehead against his chest, listening to the frantic, erratic beating of his heart. You're going to ruin your suit, I mumbled, noticing the flour I had just transferred onto his expensive lapels. Lucas chuckled, a deep, rich sound that vibrated through his chest. He kissed the top of my head. I'll buy 1,000 suits if it means I get to hold you like this. 1 year later, the transition wasn't completely smooth. When Lucas formally announced our engagement, the high society circles of the city went into a collective frenzy. The fake heiress who had been cast out was now returning as the mistress of the Vance family. Chloe, the real heiress, had actually been the most supportive. Once she realized I wasn't going to steal her parents' affection and that Lucas was entirely obsessed with me, she became my biggest ally. Please take him, she had whispered to me at a family dinner. He's terrifying when you aren't around. Now, we were standing in the bridal suite of the grandest hotel in the city. I was wearing a custom-made wedding gown, adorned with thousands of hand-stitched pearls. I looked at myself in the mirror, adjusting the veil. The door clicked open and the lock turned. It's bad luck to see the bride before the ceremony, I said without turning around, seeing Lucas's reflection in the glass. He was in a sharp black tuxedo, looking like a literal god of wealth. He walked up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist and resting his chin on my shoulder. I make my own luck, he murmured, pressing a kiss to the curve of my neck. Besides, you've been in here for 3 hours. That's way past my limit. I rolled my eyes, leaning back against him. You're so clingy, Lucas. I am, he agreed without a shred of shame. And you love it. He turned me around, his amber eyes softening as he looked down at me. Are you ready, Mrs. Vance? I smiled, reaching up to adjust his bow tie. A single, final bullet comment floated across the mirror, shimmering with golden light. Mission accomplished. The villainess got her happy ending. Signing off. I watched the text fade into nothingness, finally gone for good. I didn't need the comments anymore. I didn't need to worry about the plot of some novel. I looked up at the man who had loved me through every phase of my life, through every tantrum, every tear, and every revelation. I've been ready my whole life, I told him. Lucas smiled, took my hand, and together, we walked out of the room to start our forever.